Hello, all you Colombian cane compatriots. Today we're doing Colombian rum. So I admitted in the past that I have a little bit of a soft spot for Colombian rum, particularly when I reviewed this little guy, the rum Ron Viejo de Caldas. It's usually bottled at 40%. It's usually column distilled, which is not really my thing, but I've always appreciated the honesty of the stuff. Not dictador. Not dictador, it's not Colombian, it's not even really rum. But everything else, I've always had a little appreciation for. The thing is, Colombian rum is about to get a lot more interesting because now Viche is legal. What is Viche? Viche is, you can think of it as a kind of cane moonshine that made along the Pacific coast. So Colombia runs right alongside the Pacific, and along those coasts you have a lot of Afro-Colombian communities, and those communities, they've been there forever. They've been there for like centuries. Those communities have a reputation for the production of basically cane juice, backwoods shine, we would say. It used to be illegal. But now it is not, because last year the Colombian government, along with a sort of general loosening of alcohol laws, not only made Viche legal, but they sort of declared it a bit of a national treasure, a culturally important product of these Afro-Colombian communities. Now, I am guessing what happened is they looked at what was going on in Mezcal, and to some extent what was probably going on in Haiti with Clairin, and thought there's probably some money to be made there. So where this goes, I don't exactly know. It could go nowhere. It could just be that Viche just becomes more widely available in the rest of Colombia. It could be that we'll see the same sorts of stuff that's happened in Mezcal. We'll start to see, God help us, like Diageo move in and set up huge Viche factories. We'll start to see the little guy get pushed out. We'll start to see environmental problems resulting from all this. Or maybe it'll actually do some good. It'll actually start to bring money back to Colombia and to these particular communities. I don't know where this goes. But what I'm saying is, from a consumer perspective, is be on the lookout for these. They haven't really started to hit the global marketplace yet, but I have a suspicion that they will pretty soon. So the reason why I get to talk about these is because a very, very kind subscriber sent me this. This is a little sample bottle that he had from a relative, I believe, in Colombia. This is Mano de Buey, which is a cane juice single pot distilled Viche. No idea when this was distilled. I imagine in the last year or two. But in any case, I will give you the facts I know. So this is from Soledad de Curay, made kind of towards the south of the Pacific coast. The master distiller is Onésimo González Biojó, who is apparently a bit famous in Colombia as far as like the Viche makers go. He's 5th generation. He's been using this forever. Grows and harvests his own cane, mills his own cane, and yeah, he's got a wooden still with a copper pot apparently. This is bottled at 40%, but again, single distillation, so it probably comes off the still at pretty close to 40%. I would imagine, he could be adjusting with water, I don't know, but he could just as well, sort of Mezcal style, be adjusting with heads and tails. In any case, this is what I got, and we're gonna give it a try today. What else can I say about this? Yeah, 40%. Oh God, it smells lovely. So I'm gonna pour a bit of this. Now, I did get a second sample bottle from the same kind subscriber, but it was tainted. There was a little bit of a soapy residue kind of thing going on in there. So I was worried I wasn't going to have a sparring partner for this guy, this little Mano here. So I went out and bought this. Oh God, there's a lot of glare, isn't there? Ron Medellin Gran Reserva, 12 years, which is of course not actually 12 years old. So maybe not as honest as I would like, but you know, I will tell you what they do say. On the back of this, there is some actual useful information. Ron Medellin, made with the finest sugar cane, selected from exceptional fields of various, yada, yada, yada. So they say sugar cane, not molasses. So I'm guessing this is cane syrup or cane honey, whatever you like, based rather than molasses. Rests for 8 to 12 years, so 8 to 12 years old, at our aging facility, yada, yada, yada. Highest grade of purity without any added sugars or artificial flavors. That is what I like to hear. It is still bottled at 40%, but that just seems to be the style down there. So this is going to be our little head-to-head. Medellin, of course, is made just outside the city of the same name. It's still on the western side of Colombia, but it's a little further inland. It's not actually in Medellin. It's a little further south. Yeah, let's pour this. Oh, I should say the top on this is absolutely god awful. There's this little plastics thing you have to take off to even get it open, and once it's open, you have to deal with this sort of spout pour thing, which is not helpful at all. And if you try to rush it, it just kind of gushes in there in a big mess. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But that's not to say anything bad about the rum inside the bottle. Okay, we got these poured. Let's go. Let's do the Viche first. Oh, add a little bit of water to these. Okay. Here we go. Mano de Buey. I apologize for my pronunciation of all of this. Please bear with me. Again, bottled at 40%, so I'm not going to add a whole bunch of water to this, but it got there honestly. Like, again, single distillation is... Maybe I should just make a note of this one more time because I talked about it before. Whiskey folks, you may have gotten yourselves into the habit of thinking anything bottled at 40% or around that range is bad. Yes, that's a bad sign a lot of the time, but it is not necessarily bad. What is bad is excessive dilution before bottling. If something got to 40% honestly, because it spent a lot of its time in a very damp warehouse, for example, or because it just happened to come off the still at close to 40%, like this guy, single distillation, then it's fine. You're not really, you're not drinking mostly water in that case. You're drinking just what happened to come out of the warehouse or what happened to come out of the still. Rant over. Let's get this going. I can smell it from here. It's very, very intense. Oh God. Wonderfully aromatic, just cane spirit. I'm smelling the cane. Like when you're doing single distillation, like by the nature of that, you're staying very, very close to the raw materials. Oh man, do you get it here? Olives, pickle, fennel, lots of brine. Sorry, I'm still getting over my cold a little bit. My nose is fine, but I'm still coughing sometimes. But despite all those sort of pickly, olivey, herbaceous notes, this is actually very fruity at the same time. There's papaya in this. There's kiwi. There's melon. And it's quite floral. There's a mix of like like dried flowers in this. But at the same time, like some like a smoky thing, almost like you set some of those flowers on fire. So flower smoke. Little minerality, some wet rocks. Let's get more specific on those flowers. Some of those flowers are violets. We're going to get that specific. It's not overwhelming. It's just a little subtle touch in there. A little bit of tomato. Slightly underripe tomato. If you leave this for a while, it gets a little bit more peppery. But right now it's just a little bit peppery. It's just a little, little hint of white pepper in there. Oh God, it's just lovely and delicate and rich and easy for like this is It's a very, very easy. I mean, it's real cane juice, right? But there's an ease to this nose that makes me think if I could get a full bottle of this, like I could throw it at like a normal person, and they wouldn't be necessarily be scared off immediately by this stuff. Oh, it's a good nose. Okay, on the palate, here we go. Oh, that's really good. That's extremely good, actually. Those of you who will, again, hate to say this again, those of you who swear anything bottled at 40% cannot be worth drinking, you need to try this. Also try some like piscos and stuff, but really try this. Oh God. So it arrives actually very, very, very fruity and floral, but then finishes on like lots of savory stuff, especially like some bitter herbs. So it you know, flowers and fruit in the front, herbs and like savory stuff in the back. Lots of grass actually. Black pepper all over the place. Kind of, the black pepper is sort of what's uniting and unifying the sort of palate development here. Oh, that development is just, oh, it's so good. Black pepper, a little smoky, like a burned plastic thing, but nice. So you set your favorite action figure on fire and you enjoyed it. Really long finish too, actually. Extremely long finish. Very so it's got the bitter herbs, but there's some minerality coming out, like a mix of kind of rocks and clay stuff. Let's talk more about the fruit on the arrival. It's good. Peach, kiwi, papaya. But then, like, you start paying more attention and you're getting throughout the palate fennel, seawater, a couple of mixed olives, black and green. And lots of flowers. On the front, it's more fresh flowers, and then it gets more dry, you know, kind of dried flowers and smoky flowers on the back end. It reminds me a little bit of like the Barbosa, the Grogue I reviewed a while back. But it's so much more elegant in the floral thing. You know what it is? This is take the Barbosa and a little bit of Clairin Sajous, right? And you're gonna kind of mash those two together. And what you get is this. And it's surprisingly like, what's shocking me is just how surprisingly like classical this is in the way it develops. That kind of move from very sweet and kind of, not much sweet, fruity and floral and nice and soft on the front end, moving towards extremely dry and kind of, you know, bitter and slightly smoky on the back. Just from this having come from off the still, I could actually see like Scotch fans getting into this, which is to say a lot for, you know, 40% like Pacific Coast Colombian moonshine. This is real good. This is very good. I'm gonna give this 87 points out of 100. Like, I had never known that this existed until someone like literally sent me a little Reddit message about it. But now, like, I want all of these. I want to like just make a field trip to Colombia and like bring back like a duffel bag full of Viche bottles, because that's how much this impressed me. 87 points, real good. If you see this on your travels, or if you are an importer, get a hold of this. Talk to these people. Get a hold of this. Start bringing it in the U.S. because I promise you, there's people out there who will be into this. All right, moving on. Let us try the sparring partner, the Ron Medellin 12 long-aged years, which is actually 8 to 12. Let's see what we got here. So again, I was a little bit of a fan of the Ron Viejo here. De Caldas. This is from a different distillery, but let's see what we got here. So this is from the I have the Fábrica de Licores y Alcoholes de Antioquia, which is the sort of larger region. Bottled probably circa 2020, I'm not really sure. Bottled at 40%. And here we go, on the nose. I mean, so it's obviously a totally different kind of spirit, right? This is coming off an industrial column still, not a tiny, partly wooden pot still. And even compared to the Ron Viejo de Caldas, the nose is a little bit disappointing. It's a hair bit more industrial than I like, and I like industrial sometimes, but this is just, we're getting cane syrup, molasses, mostly cane syrup, but a little bit of like a lighter molasses style, like a baking molasses. A little bit of ethanol coming through, which is what really kind of makes me go, it gets me a little worried when I'm sort of detecting overt ethanol in my rum. But there's and there's some like rubber there, that kind of old tire note you sometimes get in column, sort of big industrial column distilled rum. Beyond that, tons of coffee, all different kinds of coffee grinds, and kind of like a sweet cold brew note. You know, when you like buy the can of the the Starbucksy stuff, the cold brew, whatever it is, and you kind of and you try to pour it into a cup and it doesn't. You think it's going to fizz, but it doesn't, and you kind of smell it. It's that sort of smell, but that's not fair. It's more fresh than that, but it's still like sweet cold brewish. Black pepper. There's some vanilla in this. Not fake vanilla. This is like just oaky vanilla. There's some nuts. There's some like pecans. There's a little bit of macadamia. Even a little bit of like frangelico, the bottle with the monk shaped guy on it. And actually, this is throwing a little bit of floral action too. There's some, but it's almost like flower candy, or maybe like candied flowers, something like that. I mean, it's a simple nose. It's on my. It's not setting off alarms, but it also just smells like a column distilled oak aged rum. So it is definitely not quite in the same league as this guy, and really nowhere in the same league as the Viche. All right, but let's try another palate. The palate is considerably better than the nose. Whereas the Viejo de Caldas here, I felt like the nose outperformed the palate. Here it's the other way around. This is more of a palate rum than it is a nosing rum. So again, we're getting a lot of similar stuff from the nose, but how do I put this? It's much more assertive on the palate, and it just performs better. So we're getting like cane syrupy notes, rubbery old tire notes, no ethanol, which makes me happy. Burned nutshells, black pepper, and but then you start to pay more attention. You get these really nice herbaceous notes, some menthol, some eucalyptus, some like cooling herbs on the back end. Floral notes, which I like, and lots of coffee. Lots of coffee, which is appropriate because Colombians love their coffee. All the coffee, all sorts, as we would say. Lots of nuts, nut shells, but also like just nuts. More like mostly pecans this time. Some allspice, like a honey thing, like a little aromatic clover honey sort of thing. Even a little fennel in there. Nowhere near as much as the Viche, but it's there. The finish is, well, it's shallow in the mouth. And what I mean by that is it kind of stops at my molars. It really doesn't kind of go back all the way and sort of dominate, way back as hitting my throat. This is it's not totally in the forward of my mouth, but like that's where it seems comfortable. That being said, the finish that is there holds on very, very nicely on this kind of cooling herbs meets, coffee and ash, and slightly rubbery kind of thing. This is very pleasant. Oh, how do I grade this? Because I don't really like the nose. But that palate is actually very, especially for something at 40%. This is a very impressive little palate. I'm going to give this 81 points. Let's call this 81 points out of 100 for Ron Medellin 12 long-aged years. Nice. So the Viche blows it out, of course, but I was kind of expecting that. So yeah, how to sum this up? Colombian rum. Keep a lookout because it's not just that there's a kind of honesty in what they're putting out. Again, not dictator, anyone but dictator, but that there's lots of little communities out there, particularly along the coasts, making some really cool stuff, and is well worth your notice and your attention once this stuff starts to hit the international markets a little bit more. So, 87 points for the Mano de Buey Viche, and 81 points for the Ron Medellin. This is really interesting, actually. The more I have of this, the more I appreciate it. The little Medellin. It feels kind of like if you were to take someone like me, like a Hamden nerd, and lock them in a room with like the people who hang out on rum ratings a lot and who really love Dictador and that kind of style, and you didn't let us out until we agreed on something that we liked, we would probably come out holding this up. I don't think it would make anyone completely happy. Like they would find it a little too dry, and I would say, why is it not bottled at higher strength? Why isn't there, pot still mixed in there? But we can all agree on liking it. And that's kind of what I appreciate about this. Like this is just a little bit of a jack of all trades rum. But 81 for this and 87 for the Viche. Thanks for watching and cheers.